Podcast, where truth moves faster than a Holstein calf. No waiting on some pretty page. We're charting new ground in the digital age. From genomic codes to robotic facts, we cut through the noise, no holding back. Not your daddy's dairy news tonight. We're sparking debates with every insight. The ring's not where the real fight's at. It's in the data, in the channel chat. From pasture to processor to your morning cup, we're raising the stakes. Try and get ahead of herd. Yeah! Where the future's more than just a word. Ahead of herd. Come on. The Bullvine's calling, let your voice be heard.
Welcome to the Bullvine Podcast, where we bring you cutting-edge insights from the dairy industry's front lines. Today, we're diving into dairy's bold new frontier, an eye-opening exploration of how forward-thinking producers are completely redefining what success looks like in today's dairy business. In this episode, we'll unpack the technological revolution sweeping through dairy operations, the game-changing potential of beef-on-dairy strategies, and why sustainability is rapidly transforming from regulatory burden to competitive advantage. We'll also tackle the uncomfortable truths about labor shortages and succession planning that keep many dairy operators up at night. Whether you're milking 100 cows or 10,000, the insights from today's episode will challenge you to reconsider conventional wisdom and inspire new approaches to build a more profitable, sustainable operation. So grab your coffee and let's explore how the bold are reshaping dairy's future.
Well, hello there, folks, and welcome back to another deep dive where we try to take a whole mountain of information and really boil it down to the good stuff for you.
That's the plan.
And today, we are wading, really knee-deep, into something you all know a thing or two about, the dairy industry.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you, if you think the price of feed is the only thing changing, well, you've probably got another thing coming.
Yeah, that's right. We've got a really fascinating collection of insights here, all kind of wrapped up in a piece called Transforming Dairy, Tech, Diversification, and Sustainability.
Mm-hmm.
And it paints such a vivid picture, doesn't it? An industry navigating some, well, let's call them choppy waters.
Definitely choppy, those milk price swings we all love, and the input costs just marching relentlessly upwards.
But what's really striking, I think, is the ingenuity, the adaptability we're seeing in response to all that.
Absolutely. This isn't, a sob story. It's an evolution. Maybe even a bit of a dairy renaissance, if you want to get fancy.
I like that. Dairy renaissance.
As Dr. Megan Richardson put it so well, we're witnessing the birth of a new era. Forget just hunkering down. We're seeing proactive producers, forward thinkers, stepping up and actually driving change.
Yeah, much like, we've always done with genetic progress, identifying those superior traits and breeding for them.
Exactly.
And the numbers, well, they tell a story too. There's definitely been consolidation, no doubt. A 39% decrease in farm numbers between 2017 and 2022. That highlights just how fast things are changing.
It's a big drop.
It is. But it also shows resilience. Over the past 5 years, the majority, actually over 2/3 of established dairies have stayed profitable.
Okay, so despite the consolidation, those remaining are finding ways.
They are. It says a lot about the savvy management, the strategic thinking happening out there. This consolidation isn't just farms vanishing. It's more of a shift, right? Towards larger, maybe more tech-heavy operations that can handle these economic pressures.
So technology isn't just a tool. It's kind of driving this structural change itself.
That's what the insights suggest, yeah.
Right. So what is the secret sauce behind this resilience then?
Well, that's what this deep dive is all about, your shortcut to understanding that. We're going to unpack the big forces at play. The tech leaps, making modern barns look almost sci-fi sometimes. The smart moves into diversification, especially this whole beef on dairy thing, babin, you hear it called.
Yeah, that's exploding.
Where you're strategically breeding some cows to beef sires. And of course, the huge shift towards sustainability, not just because you have to, but as a real business advantage.
And we can't forget the people side. We'll be digging into those persistent workforce challenges, finding good help, keeping good help, and the absolutely critical need for a solid succession planning.
So important.
Because even with all the robots and sensors, it's still an industry powered by people, right?
You absolutely got it. So as we get rolling here, I want you listening to really chew on this. Is your operation positioning itself to be one of the innovators? Are you shaping the future, or are you maybe mostly just reacting to the market waves as they come? It's a great question. Let's jump right into that technology revolution then, because stepping into a modern dairy barn today, wow, it can feel like a completely different world compared to even, say, 10, 15 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Technology isn't just a nice to have anymore. For a lot of these forward-thinking farms, it's really become the backbone of their infrastructure.
No kidding. And we're talking way beyond just automatic waterers here. This is serious automation, and the return on investment, well, it's becoming harder and harder to ignore.
Definitely. Take robotic milking systems.
Yeah.
Huge upfront cost, obviously.
Yeah, what are we talking? $150,000 plus per robot? Something like that.
Easily. $150,000, sometimes more. But the research, places like the Journal of Dairy Science and real-world stories like Dan Weber's up in Wisconsin, they're showing pretty impressive returns.
Like what specifically?
Well, milk yield increases, for starters, maybe 5 to 10%. And labor savings could be anywhere from 75 cents to a full dollar per hundredweight.
Per 100 pounds of milk.
And it's not just more milk, right? It's the potential for optimized milking schedules, better cow comfort, maybe better health, stuff that contributes long-term beyond just the parlor.
And those labor savings, they add up fast. You mentioned Dan Weber. Didn't he see like a 30% drop in labor costs?
Nearly 30%, yeah, after putting in robots. And on a, say, 200 cow dairy, savings like that, you could be looking at over $75,000 a year.
That's significant.
It is. Plus, and Dan mentioned this too, there's that quality of life improvement. Harder to put a number on, but being able to, go to your kids' school events instead of being tied to the parlor at 4 a.m.
Letting the cows set the schedule, not the clock.
Exactly.
Okay, what about feeding? Precision feeding tech.
Yeah, another big one. This isn't just scooping TMR into the bunk anymore. We're talking sophisticated systems. They can cut feed costs maybe 7 to 12% and boost feed efficiency at the same time.
And Cornell's CNCPS modeling. That's the nutritional model, right? Yeah. Helps figure out exact needs.
Exactly. That sophisticated Cornell model helps producers really fine-tune rations. And it also points to significant environmental benefits, like a 15 to 20% drop in nitrogen and phosphorus excretion.
Which is good for the environment.
Yeah.
And probably saves on fertilizer costs, too.
Right. And think about it. Feed is usually the biggest expense. Yeah. Often 40, maybe even 60% of your total costs.
Easily.
So saving 7 to 12% there, that hits the bottom line directly. It could be over $100 per cow per year just from smarter feeding.
And the wearables.
Yeah.
The health monitoring stuff. It's not just cow Fitbits, right?
No, definitely not just Fitbits. The savings from catching something like mastitis early, the research puts that cost at upwards of $444 per case.
Per case, including treatment, dumped milk, lost production.
All of it. And these systems, the AI-powered ones, they can actually predict an illness 24, even 72 hours before you'd see visual signs.
Seriously, how accurate are we talking?
Well, some of these algorithms, like support vector machines, think of them as really smart AI pattern detectors for cow health data. They're hitting accuracy rates like 97%.
Wow, 97%. That's almost like having a crystal ball for finding sick cows.
It's pretty close, but what's really fascinating, and the source emphasizes this, is the move from just adopting tech to truly integrating it. Meaning just buying the robot or the sensor isn't the magic solution. You need the management protocols behind it. You need to actually use the data it gives you to make decisions. It's not just a Band-Aid.
Right, it's got to be part of the whole system.
Yeah.
Which leads to that idea of moving from data collection to decision intelligence.
Exactly. It's not enough just to have all this data pouring in. You need to translate it into action. Sarah Chen's experience, which the piece highlights, really shows this.
What are they doing?
They're pulling in everything: cow activity, rumination, milk components, feed intake, even weather data, all into one integrated platform.
And the benefit.
That's where the real power is. They're not just reacting. They're using that integrated data to predict potential issues, identifying cows heading for trouble before you'd normally spot it.
This is a proactive, not reactive.
Precisely. And it's driving real productivity gains for them, 15, 20% overall. Big improvements in conception rates, feed efficiency, catching health problems sooner.
So like we said at the start, this tech revolution, it's fundamentally changing how farms operate, how they compete.
It really is.
Which brings us back to that tough question the material poses. It's not really about whether you can afford the technology anymore.
Right. It's whether you can afford to be left behind. That gap, that technological divide between the farms embracing this and those sticking to traditional methods, it's just going to get wider.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the potential is huge, but we can't gloss over the real challenges. Access to capital is still a big one.
What did the source say? Over a quarter of producers see that as a primary limitation.
Yeah, 26%. And it's not just the money, right? Farmers need good local tech support. They want to see solid research proving these things work. And frankly, the systems need to be easy to use.
Nobody wants another piece of software that takes a PhD to operate.
Exactly. You want to manage cows, not fight with code.
Okay, so let's shift gears then. Let's talk about looking beyond just that milk check hitting the bank account every month. Diversification.
Yeah, this is becoming absolutely crucial, isn't it, for long-term success?
It seems like it. We're not just milk producers anymore, or at least the really successful ones aren't thinking that way. They're evolving into these diversified agricultural businesses.
It's not just a hedge against low milk prices either. It's becoming like a core part of the business model for a lot of these top farms.
And the big one everyone's talking about is beef on dairy, BOD.
Oh, yeah. The adoption rate is just incredible. 72% of U.S. dairy farms are now using beef genetics in their breeding programs.
72%. That's a massive shift in breeding philosophy.
It really is. And look at the semen sales. Nearly 8 million units of beef semen sold to dairy producers last year. That's almost a third of all dairy semen sales.
Wow. It really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? For those farms still seeing dairy and beef as totally separate worlds, when was the last time you really looked hard at what your breeding program is giving you beyond just the replacement heifers you need?
Because the economics, they're getting really hard to ignore. Those studies from the land-grant universities, they consistently show these crossbred calves getting big premiums.
How big are we talking?
Anywhere from $350 up to $700 more per head compared to a straight Holstein bull calf.
$350 to $700.
Yeah. And get this, 80% of farmers doing beef on dairy are actually getting those kinds of premiums.
80%. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's do some quick math. Say you have a 500 cow dairy. You breed maybe 200 cows to beef.
That could be an extra $70,000 to $140,000 in revenue annually.
Which is basically like getting a milk price bump of, what, 70 cents to a $1.40 per hundredweight on all your milk.
Pretty much. It's a significant boost.
And the market's cooperating right now, too, isn't it? Cattle numbers are low.
Yeah, the U.S. cattle inventory is at a 73-year low, so beef prices are strong. And this BOD trend is already making a real dent in the beef supply chain.
How much?
It was about 7% of total U.S. cattle slaughter back in 2022. And the USDA thinks it could climb to maybe 15% by 2026.
So this isn't just some niche thing. It's becoming a major factor in the livestock sector.
Absolutely. We heard about James Thornton in Pennsylvania.
Right, he started small, just breeding lower-end cows to Angus to get better bull calf prices.
Yeah, but it grew from there. Now he's raising some of those crossbreds all the way to finish, selling branded beef direct to consumers.
And that accounts for, what, 15% of his farm revenue now?
15%. It's like he added a whole new business line without the huge capital outlay of, say, doubling his dairy herd.
That's a great example of thinking beyond just the milk, which leads to that idea of creating value on your terms.
Exactly. And it's not just about selling the calves anymore either. That's the point the source makes about creating value on your terms. We're seeing more and more farms developing their own branded beef or other value-added products, selling directly.
Tapping into that consumer demand for local, traceable, high-quality food.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let's just be brutally honest for a second here. If you're still clinging to that we just milk cows mentality in today's market,
Yeah.
that's not loyalty to tradition. It's kind of a failure of imagination, right? You're leaving money on the table.
It's a harsh way to put it, but yeah, there's truth there. The market's demanding more, offering opportunities.
And beef isn't the only game in town for diversification.
Oh, definitely not. We're
Yeah.
seeing farms succeed with on-farm processing, setting up creameries, making cheese, yogurt, ice cream, flavored milk.
And capturing those retail margins, which can be huge.
Yeah.
Like $20 or more per hundredweight equivalent.
Easily. Then there's agritourism, farm tours, workshops, maybe an on-farm store hosting events.
Yeah,
Turning the farm itself into an experience people pay for.
right. And don't forget just leveraging your land and equipment differently. Selling surplus crops or forage if there's demand.
Or energy production. Methane digesters turning manure into biogas and fertilizer.
Or solar panels, cutting your energy bill, and maybe even selling power back to the grid.
It's all about looking at what you already have, land, livestock, skills, and thinking, what's underutilized here? What else could this asset be doing for me?
Maybe start small, test the waters, see what clicks with customers before you bet the farm, so to speak.
Good advice. And really think about what makes your farm unique. What's your competitive edge in these other ventures?
Okay, let's pivot again. Sustainability. This is a topic that's really shifted, hasn't it?
Yeah.
From being seen mostly as, a regulatory headache.
To actually being a competitive advantage.
Yeah.
It's less about just compliance now and more about efficiency and smart business.
Exactly. The source mentioned, 63% of U.S. dairy producers are already doing something sustainable?
Right, at least one practice. But the real leaders, the ones taking a more comprehensive, holistic approach, they're the ones seeing tangible business benefits.
Like what kind of benefits?
We'll take water recycling. The article talks about farms recycling water multiple times, maybe up to 6 times, using it for cooling milk, then cleaning, flushing barns, finally irrigating crops.
And there's research showing that saves costs and reduces the environmental footprint.
Yeah, the Innovation Center for U.S. Dairy has done good work on that. Then there's manure management. It's way beyond just storing and spreading now.
Right, capturing biogas for energy.
Yeah.
Reducing fertilizer bills.
Exactly. The University of Wisconsin Dairy Innovation Hub found some farms saving $70 to $100 per cow a year just through better nutrient management from manure, turning waste into value.
That adds up.
And precision feeding ties in here too, right? We talked about cost savings, but it also means less nutrient excretion.
That 15-20% reduction in nitrogen and phosphorus Cornell talked about. Better for the environment, saves on inputs.
It all connects.
And overall, the industry has made progress, hasn't it? Since 2007, less water, less land, smaller carbon footprint per gallon of milk.
Yeah, those efficiency gains, driven by both environmental awareness and just good economics, they're real. It's like the genetic gains doing more with less.
It's interesting to look globally, too, the Dutch experience.
Right.
With circular farming.
Yeah. They've been forced by really strict regulations to innovate, integrating crops, livestock, energy. They've shown sustainability can drive profits. Some Dutch farms cut purchased fertilizer by up to 65% while maintaining yields.
Wow. And the market here is starting to catch on. Processors, retailers valuing sustainability.
Increasingly, yes. They're setting requirements, and some are offering actual premiums for milk produced with verified sustainable practices.
So that sustainability divide, the source mentioned it. It's real. Some see it as a cost, others see it as an opportunity.
Right. Proactive producers are using it to get an edge, better prices, better market access.
Like David Keller in New York.
Yeah.
He put in a digester initially for compliance.
But now he's getting a 15-cent per hundredweight premium from his processor because of it. That's like $45,000 extra a year for his farm.
Just for being proactive.
Yeah.
But there's still a disconnect, it seems. Lots of producers are doing good things, but not documenting it or linking it to programs.
Yeah, that seems to be the case, especially maybe for smaller operations or in regions where these programs aren't as common yet. Lots of folks are already doing sustainable things. They just aren't getting credit, financially or otherwise.
So the takeaway is, take stock of what you're already doing. Research those processor programs. Start measuring and documenting your impact.
Exactly. Can't improve what you don't measure. And you definitely can't market it if you don't track it.
All right, let's shift to maybe the most critical piece of the puzzle for the long haul. People. The human element.
Absolutely vital. You can have the best tech, the smartest business plan, but without good people and a plan for the next generation, where does that leave you?
Nowhere fast. And the workforce dilemma, it's a big one. Persistent challenge.
Huge. Many dairies rely on non-family labor for, more than half their workforce?
Often, yeah. And immigrant labor plays such a crucial role. The stats are pretty stark.
They really are. Nationally, immigrant workers are 51% of the dairy workforce, but they produce 79% of the milk.
Wow. And in some big dairy states, it's even higher, like 80% reliance.
It's up to 80% in places like the West and Southwest. So let's just be blunt, like the source suggests. Our industry is deeply, deeply reliant on a workforce that often doesn't have secure legal status or clear pathways to get it.
It's a fundamental vulnerability we can't just ignore.
And it's not just finding people, it's keeping them. Dairy work is tough, long hours, physically demanding. It's hard to attract domestic workers sometimes.
And the H-2A program, the guest worker program, it doesn't really fit dairy's year-round needs, does it?
No. It's designed more for seasonal work.
And the potential economic hit if there were major labor disruptions. It's scary.
Oh, yeah. Modeling suggests even a 50% cut in immigrant dairy labor could cost the U.S. economy $16 billion, a total loss. Could push retail milk prices up 90%.
90%.
Yeah.
This isn't just a farm problem, it's a food system problem.
Exactly. But, like in other areas, we're seeing innovative producers finding solutions. Strategic automation, for one.
Like Miguel Rodriguez in Idaho mentioned in the source. Using tech not just to cut jobs, but to change jobs.
Right. Robots might reduce the need for parlor milkers, but they create demand for skilled technicians, cow managers. Often better, less physically demanding jobs.
And farms are getting smarter about compensation too, moving beyond just wages.
Yeah. Offering good housing, more flexible schedules where possible, performance incentives tied to milk quality or repro goals, recognizing that good employees are a valuable asset.
Like your best cows, right? You invested them.
Precisely. And investing in professional development, creating actual career paths on the farm.
Amanda Chen's experience was interesting, that multi-site dairy cut turnover by 40% with a structured advancement program.
40%. People stick around when they see a future, a way to move up from entry level to more skilled, higher paying roles.
Makes sense. Which links directly to the other huge human challenge, succession planning.
Oh, absolutely critical. The stats are worrying. About a quarter of current operators plan to retire in the next 5 years.
Yet almost half don't have a formal plan or aren't sure how the farm will transition.
It's alarming. And you look at the general stats for family ag businesses, less than a third make it to Generation 2, only about 16.5% to Generation 3.
Oof. We need to have some honest conversations, both industry-wide and on our own farms. Are we ready for this potential wave of transitions or potential closures?
Because it's complex, right? Financially, emotionally. Modern dairies are huge capital assets. Figuring out fair distribution, ensuring the farm stays viable. It takes serious planning and communication.
And probably professional help.
Well, often, yeah. Thomas Weber, the young guy who took over his family's dairy, his advice was spot on. Start early. Way earlier than you think. Like 5 years before you need it, then double that timeline.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Definitely. And the source laid out a good starting framework.
Right. Step 1. Vision alignment meetings. Get everyone talking values, goals, dreams for the farm. Maybe use a neutral facilitator.
Good idea. Step 2, a thorough business assessment. Know the farm's real value, its efficiency, its viability. Get financial specialists involved.
Then step 3, develop multiple scenarios. Don't just fixate on one path. Gradual transfer, partnerships, maybe even equity for key non-family managers.
Explore the options. Step 4. Create a separate timeline for management transfer. That often needs to happen before ownership shifts, lets the next generation ease in.
Good point. And step 5, keep reviewing and adapting the plan. Quarterly during the transition, annually after. It's not set in stone.
Things change. The good news is there is a new generation coming up. Often tech-savvy, business-minded, environmentally aware, and there are resources out there to help them.
University programs, producer groups, support is available.
So the key takeaway on succession is just start. Have the conversation, build your team, take an honest look at your farm's transferability.
Okay, so we've talked tech, diversification, sustainability, people, kind of as separate pieces. But the real magic, the next frontier, is putting it all together, right? Integration.
That's exactly it. The most successful operations aren't just doing one thing well in isolation. They're thinking holistically about the whole system.
How these different parts feed off each other, amplify the benefits, build resilience.
Yeah, Ryan Kimball in Wisconsin put it perfectly. They stopped thinking about individual projects and started focusing on how everything connects.
Like his example with the robots. The data didn't just solve a labor issue, it helped them fine-tune nutrition.
Which cut feed costs and improved cow health. See, it's all linked. One chain creates ripple.
And that systems thinking applies to the business model too. Integrating milk production with, say, processing and direct marketing.
Creates multiple income streams. Makes you much less vulnerable to price swings in any one area. It's like diversifying your investments.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. So the big question for you, the listener, is, are you still tackling challenges in silos? Or are you starting to see and leverage how interconnected everything is in modern dairy management?
Because the opportunities for synergy are huge. Tech can solve labor issues and improve welfare and boost sustainability. Think automated calf feeders.
Right. Diversification, like Bo-T, leverages existing assets, your cows, your land for new markets.
Sustainability cuts costs and potentially opens up premium markets.
And investing in your people, better pay, meaningful work, growth paths, leads to stability and productivity across the board.
The Sanchez family dairy in California, mentioned in the source, sounds like a prime example of this integrated approach.
They really do. Robots, smart feeding, health monitoring, solar power, water recycling, a big beef on dairy program with finishing and branding, and their own creamery.
Wow, they're doing it all.
And Maria Sanchez said it herself. Each piece reinforces the others. Sustainability helps market their branded products. Technology helps with labor and animal welfare, which is part of their brand story. It all works together.
It's a powerful combination.
So as we start to wrap this up, it's crystal clear, isn't it? The dairy industry is in a massive period of change, evolution, maybe even revolution across the board.
Definitely. And yeah, there are challenges, big ones, but there are also these huge, unprecedented opportunities for producers willing to think differently, to embrace strategic change.
The key principles seem pretty clear. Think systems, not silos. Invest smartly in tech. Diversify thoughtfully. See sustainability as an opportunity. And prioritize your people.
And here's that direct challenge for you again. What's one conventional practice on your farm, something you've maybe always done that really deserves a hard second look right now?
Maybe it's your breeding program, maybe labor management, maybe your whole business model. But pick one area and commit to an honest assessment. Could innovation there change your whole trajectory?
Because the producers who are really going to lead the way in this new dairy era, they're the ones blending that deep tradition, that love of cows and land, with a smart embrace of innovation.
Yeah, it's like managing that transition cow, right? You invest up front, manage her carefully around calving so she peaks high and stays strong.
Good analogy. Proactive investment in adaptation now leads to better, more sustainable performance later.
The future of dairy really does belong to the bold.
Absolutely. And hey, we'd love to hear from you. What's one bold change you've made on your operation that's paying off? Share it in the comments. Your story might be just what someone else needs to hear.
Yeah, definitely. And just to quickly hit those key takeaways one more time. Tech, non-negotiable now. 2/3 using advanced feeding, robots showing big potential.
Diversification, dominating. 80% getting revenue beyond milk. Bodo-Bodi premiums are real.
Sustainability, it pays. Nutrient management savings, processor premiums happening.
Labor and succession. Still critical crises, huge workforce reliance, too few succession plans.
But overall, a growth mindset wins. Producers are expanding, blending tradition and tech.
So the executive summary is basically this. Dairy is transforming fast. Tech, diversification, sustainability are driving it. Despite consolidation and people challenges, proactive, adaptable farms are finding ways to thrive by integrating everything.
Adaptability and embracing change, that seems to be the name of the game in this new era of dairy.
And that wraps up today's episode of the Bullvine Podcast. I hope this discussion has sparked some fresh thinking about your own operation's future. Remember, as we've explored today, the most successful dairy producers aren't just adapting to change, they're actively driving it through strategic technology adoption, revenue diversification, and systems thinking. What conventional practice on your farm most deserves critical reevaluation? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Head over to thebullvine.com and share your comments on this episode, or drop us a message on social media. If you found value in today's conversation, please subscribe to the Bullvine Podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and share this episode with a fellow dairy producer who might benefit. Until next time, remember that in today's dairy industry, the future belongs to the bold. Thanks for listening.